Hi everyone. As many of you know, last fall I started making homemade soap, and I admit I became a little bit obsessed with it actually. This winter I made a lot of soap, dabbled in different things, just really enjoy it. Now lately, I've been gardening and working outside, so of course I haven't had the time, but I want to make some today. I'm pretty excited about it. Thought I'd take you guys with me and show you the process of how I go about to make it. Not that there's not other ways out there to do it, but I'll just show you my process. And no, I normally don't make my soap out here. I wish I could somehow, but I mix my lye and water together on the table behind me, and the lighting's a lot better out here. That's why I'm starting my video out this way, but I'll be taking you guys into what I call my soap kitchen in the basement. It's nothing fancy. It's a very workable space, not fixed up or anything, but it functions. And I'll make sure to explain everything as clearly as possible as I'm making the soap, what I'm doing, because I remember when I did research, when I started, dabbling in, learning how to make homemade soap, I was so thankful for every little video out there or even blog posts that I read about, the process. And I'd really encourage you, if you're thinking of doing something like this, make sure to do tons of research, learn the difference between, hot and cold processed soap, and then also, saponification, what actually happens, and just so you understand it better. I feel like I'm not even quite there yet. Like, I think I know the basics, but I'd rather you guys just do research elsewhere on getting those, fine details down pat. But I can definitely show you, how to actually make it just in a simple form. So let's head into my soap kitchen. So I'm never a fan of artificial lighting like this, but I really need it down here. It's pretty dark, so hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. But first of all, of course, it's really important to kind of gear up if you're working with lye. Lye is a very strong poisoning chemical, and you do not want to breathe it in. That's why I always go on the outside to mix it, and even a respirator would be a good idea, especially if you're mixing it inside. Now if I'm outside, you guys can see once I'm doing it, I always stand away from my bowl and stir, and if I can tell which way the breeze is maybe carrying the vapors, I always stand away from that. So that's pretty important. And then of course, wearing long rubber gloves like this and a long sleeve shirt is really important too. And for some reason I could not find my safety glasses, so I just grabbed the first thing that I saw that would function, and these are Kenny's Pit Vipers. Don't laugh, but I think it's going to work. In fact, I feel like they're going to cover more of my face than my usual safety glasses, so let's give it a shot. The water I'm using today is fresh out of the ground. It's spring water. I have that in a jar here ready to be measured out. And here is my sodium hydroxide, my lye, and I'll bring you guys in closer as I measure this out. So the way my scale works is you just turn it on and make sure you set your container on there before the number goes to 0. That way it's tearing your measurement here or your bowl. And as you can see, that is at 0 now. So what I need is 22 ounces of water, and don't worry if it goes over a bit or is just under. I used to think that's, a big deal, but it actually isn't. Everything's going to be okay even if it's not exact. Perfect. And now for my lye, I need 9.7 ounces. I wonder if you guys can hear that spring peeper out here. So pretty. I'm still quite obsessed with some of these spring sounds. And it seems it's a little late this year for them to be peeping, but I feel like everything was a little bit late. And you always want to make sure to pour your lye into your water and not the other way around, because according to what people say, I've never done it, but if you do it the other way around, you can get like a lye volcano. I'll bring you guys in close so you can see the vapors. And don't worry, I'm standing far enough away that I'm not breathing them in. And since I am making 2 batches of soap today, I'm going to start my second lye and water mixture right away. It takes a while for this to cool down, so I should be good as far as, it won't get too cold by the time I'm finished with that first batch. And the containers I always use for lye water are the stainless steel bowl, and then I have a plastic bucket that I use for my second container. I'm pretty sure you can also use glass. So as we're waiting for that lye water to cool, I'm going to quickly show you what some of the other things are in front of me here that I always use to make soap. First of all, I could not be without this digital thermometer. This of course is used to take the temperature of the lye water and then also the oils, making sure they're within 5 to 10 degrees of each other before mixing them together. I have 2 large containers here that I use to measure my hard oils. The bottom one is used to melt them, and the second one is just for my second batch of soap. And I should mention I normally make 2 batches of soap if I'm at it anyway. It's just easier for me since I sell them on Etsy. But if you were to make soap for your family, you may just want to do 1 batch or even a half batch. And then my recipe fills 2 of these soap molds. These are from Amazon. They have the silicone liners. Absolutely love them. They're so easy to work with, and they're not expensive. I'll link them down below in the description box. So I have 4 of these. I always try to fill my 4 molds if I make soap. And you may be wondering, why doesn't she just make enough soap to fill 4 molds at once instead of splitting it? For me, it's just easier that way. I'm used to it, and all my containers are just right for like 1 batch of soap. I feel like I'd have to get all new containers. And plus, if I do any sort of swirling, it just always kind of makes me nervous because things tend to thicken up all of a sudden, and it's just easier for me to just do 2 loaves at a time. And maybe as I get better at soap making, I'll get brave enough to do that, but for now I'm just sticking with my recipe and 2 molds at a time. So some of the other things in front of me here, this little electric burner is so handy. I use it to melt my oils. And the immersion blender. This is just a really cheap one off of Amazon. I think I paid maybe $25 for it at the most. And I have a spoon, some spatulas, a few of these pitchers here, and then a whisk, plastic whisk, a few small jars that I use to measure my essential oils, some measuring spoons, and I have popsicle sticks here that I use to mix my mica powders. That is to get color, and TD, which that is titanium dioxide, that gets your soap nicer and whiter. I usually mix that in these small little red Solo cups. They're so cute. Mix them in here before I blend them with just a little bit of oil. Blend it together using the popsicle sticks, and then before pouring it into my soap batter. And here I have some rubbing alcohol that I sometimes spritz over the top of the soap loaves, keeping them from getting as much soda ash. And then here, of course, I have my recipe. Normally when I make soap a lot, I don't need it, like I have it memorized, but I haven't made it in a while, so I may refer back to it. And I'll make sure to share my recipe down below in the description box, the exact recipe that I always use for all of my soap. And I'll probably also share the single batch. You can't really just take a double batch and just split it in half necessarily to make just 1 loaf. Your water and lye sometimes vary just a bit, so I'll make sure to share the single recipe also for those of you that may just want to make soap for your family. 1 of these loaves makes 9 bars of soap, and that is cutting them at around 1 inch thick. I think that pretty much covers everything on the table here. Oh wait, I forgot my cheese slicer here that I use to cut the soap with, and you'll see more on that later, but so far I just haven't invested in one of those slicers where you slice a whole mold at once. That's probably in the future maybe, but so far this has worked quite well. So the next step here is getting my hard oils melted down. I don't want my lye water to cool off too much before I have that ready to go. So here I went ahead and mixed all of my oils together. The coconut oil and the shea butter are the ones that I had melted. And then here in this little pitcher, I had the avocado oil and the castor oil. Mixed that all together, and I'm just hoping it'll be around 110 degrees. Let's check. 111, not bad. So I think this mixture is ready for my lye water. Let's take the temperature of the lye water. I had actually set it in hot water just to make sure it doesn't cool too fast for me. But before I mix the two together, I want to mix some titanium dioxide and oil. I'm just using the oil that I presently have here, mixing that to my TD. And here I'm using approximately a teaspoon of titanium dioxide. And around a tablespoon of this oil here. Maybe just a bit more, just enough to get it to mix together nicely. After it's nice and blended, it'll be ready to add to my soap. One more thing I want to do before mixing my oils and lye together is to get my fragrance oil measured out. And in this case, I'm using black coral and moss. This is a really amazing smelling oil. It's from Candle Science, and it's more of a guy scent, I guess you could say. I would totally use it too, because I like some of those scents. And I use about 2.5 ounces. And here I have my immersion blender all ready to go. My oils. I need to get my gloves on, and I'm ready to mix it together. Before we start, let's just take the temperature of the oil and the lye once more. 106 and 104. Perfect. I like to soap around 100 degrees. So I'll go ahead and mix this together until it's well blended, and then I'll add my TD and my fragrance oil. So I blended that together for maybe 20 to 30 seconds, adding the TD just to give it a nice white color. Now the fragrance oil. And you want to blend this until it's at a nice trace, and I can tell this is at a nice trace already. If I drizzle this batter over the top here, it actually leaves a mark, as you can see. And you can always, if it accelerates too fast for you, and in this case it kind of went faster than some of the oils, like some oils will make your batter thicken up too much, and you can always just use a spatula or a spoon or something to stir, like your immersion blender will cause it to thicken also. So if you want to play it safe, you know, just use a spatula to stir it. And let's pour it into the molds. And I'm going to take this over on the cement floor and kind of thump down on it so every little crevice gets filled in with soap. I like to use a spoon and kind of mound the soap up like in the middle. That way, you know, once you slice it, it has more of a rustic top. I just think it looks pretty that way. And there we go. I'll spritz the tops with rubbing alcohol just to keep that soda ash from forming. And I usually just set mine right here on the table, down here in the basement, open air. I don't cover them or anything. I just set them on here to harden and cure. And tomorrow we will slice them then. Always the fun part. So I checked my lye water. It is already at 102 degrees, so I have to move fast here. First of all, I'm going to take my oils that I just melted out of this pot, pour it into this bucket. That way it'll cool faster being in a cold container. Next, I want to measure my avocado oil and castor oil. Quickly mix this into this oil. Now I gotta say, normally if I'm not filming as I'm soaping, it's easier, like I'm more in my routine. I definitely spend a little more time, you know, with filming, but it's fun. I have 111. I think we should be good. I'll set this aside and we'll mix our colors. Maybe by that time we'll be cooled down a few degrees. So my main mixture will be white. So I need the TD for that. And I plan to add some pink swirls. There's the TD, all blended together. And here I have a Peach Shimmer Mica, it's called, and it is from Brambleberry, I believe. Some of you guys may remember my Mother's Day soap. I had that swirled. It was a strawberry lemon scent, and I had swirled it using this color. It's a really pretty pink color. And today I plan to use my rose and peony oil. I've never used it before for soap. I've used it for bath salts and bath bombs, and it smells so good. And I thought I'm going to try it for soap. And it's probably not the smartest thing to do here in a video the first time, because sometimes some of your oils can accelerate things and just mess things up. But I think I'll be brave and give it a shot. Need about 2.5 ounces here. It looks nice and clear. Love it. I have 2.8, which is fine. Now let's go check on that lye, just to make sure it's not cooled off too much. I know this is pretty dark here, but I have my lye setting in hot water, and it looks to be around 99. So my lye is 99 and my oil is 102. Perfect. So here I want to get this little container ready. This will be where my pink mixture will be mixed, and I'll probably just use my little whisk here to mix it. Once everything is just mixed together, probably about 15 to 20 seconds of mixing, I'll pour some of my mixture into this pitcher. I'll go ahead and add the titanium dioxide and the pink coloring to this one. I'll divide this oil accordingly to add a little more to this mixture and then the rest into the pink one. Now I've had times where my little mixture here wouldn't thicken for me fast enough using just a little whisk like this. I would then just use my blender to thicken things up, but this is working perfectly. In fact, it thickens fairly fast. So with swirling, I'm just going to go ahead and dump my pink mixture into this white mixture here. And unfortunately, it's thickened up just a bit more than what I like it to be. Since I want my pink to kind of settle down to the bottom, I'm going to hold it way up. Let it plop down into there. Save some for the top. Since all my pink seems to be kind of in the beginning, I'm going to alternate between molds here. I probably should have hand mixed this. I gotta say, this is probably one of the most solid soaps that I've ever done like this. Like, it got solid fast. But it's probably one of my favorite scents, to be honest. Probably just use a knife to do some swirling here. I got these oval soap molds from Brambleberry, and I wanted to do one test soap. Plan to make homemade soap for my guests at the cottages, and I thought it would be so cool to do these little oval ones. So here we are the next day, and I'm ready to cut this soap. It's always a lot of fun, especially the ones that are swirled. I like to cut each piece and see how the inside looks. So as I'm slicing this soap, I'm going to talk about something new and exciting that is happening with it. I'm actually planning on stocking this in a local store. So if you're in the area or if you're local, you might want to check it out. It's always so much fun to firsthand, smell something before buying it. And let's start at the beginning. I got John to make a little soap shelf for me. I wanted it to look like different little trays, kind of set up in tiers, and he did an awesome job with it. We had some old wood lying around here, cut that down to size, put it together for me. So I'll show you guys that process in case you're looking for a new idea for displaying soap. As I started applying the Annie Sloan Clear Wax, I envisioned how pretty it would look if this shelf was a two-tone, using the old wood for the shelves, and then the other pieces like the sideboards, painting those white. I think that's what I'm going to do, being that they're a little more of a reddish color. They're not quite the same color as the shelves, and I think it would look pretty good if they were painted white. So we'll give that a try. I think I'll just take the boards off to paint them. It'll be so much easier than trying to avoid brushing against the shelves. If you're familiar with this area, of course you know that we're in Amish country, and we have all these stores here in our area that we call Amish stores. Usually they're owned by Amish people and have really practical things in there to sell, things that are, useful. Often you'll see, plain fabrics, things that are kind of geared for this community. And the store that I'm going to stock this in is actually a store like that. It's called Addie's. I love the name of it. And I'll take you guys on the little trip that MB and I took today to go set up this display rack with the soap. I ended up getting some video footage of the inside of the store, some of the products they have there, and I'm sure some of you locals are familiar with that store. It's really pretty. It's a new store, and they really have good taste and how they fixed everything up. Really good lighting in there, I thought. So make sure if you're in the area to visit Addie's, and I'll put that address down below in the description box. And in case you're familiar with Holmes County, they are located in the Walnut Creek area. This soap smells so good, and it did turn out perfect, I think. Definitely have to get a bar in the shower for John to use, but the inside just looks very smooth and no gel circles like I sometimes get. I wish I could get the smell to you guys like I often say. As you can see, my swirls are more towards the bottom of the soap, but I actually kind of like to see it this way. I know it's because my batter was just a little bit too thick, like I couldn't get it to, sink to the bottom. Isn't that pretty? Again, wishing I could get the smell to you. Roses and peony. Oh, it smells so good. And this soap will of course not be ready until 4 to 6 weeks from now. Usually I can go right around 4. I think I have a good curing time here in our basement. But if you're interested in these bars that I'm making, make sure to check that out in about a month. And I'll try to remember to mention it here on my channel once I have it on the Etsy shop. So the next step with this soap is of course curing it, and after that we shave the edges to make it look nice and neat, and then we put a very simple but pretty label on it. I almost forgot about my little oval soap here. Let's see what this looks like. I don't know, can you tell in the video or not? Is that focusing? I can definitely see that my batter was a little bit too thick, so the next time I think it would be, you know, smoother yet, but I still think it's pretty cute. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and got something out of it. For me, I had a blast making soap again. So much fun. So make sure to check out the soap on my Etsy shop if you're wanting a nice natural bar of soap. And some of the soap, of course, is scented using clean fragrance oils. Always like to mention that because they wouldn't be 100% natural, but most of the soap on there is. So check that out. And then also, if you're in the area, stop by Addie's and check out the soap there, and there are many other nice products they have there in the store. As always, I hope your day is going great. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!